witches. I'm going to start with a few acknowledgments since this is scholarship. My acknowledgments are also sort of requests. I want to throw out a couple requests to some people present because there will be ritual to this ritual scholarship.
Oh
so I might need some like sort of half belief thrown my way. And I'm going to make some acknowledgement requests, particularly to Keelan, who's talking about her sort of crushes on the canonical Greek myths. I'm going to make a request acknowledgement to Becca and Andy, who own Carl Ginsberg's Myths, Clues, and Historical Method. And I'm going to sort of throw out a general request acknowledgement to just the group that when you're feeling sort of identified with some of these things, just send your half belief my way. Yeah. All right. We're going to start with something hot. And I quote, "In England, the legal method of executing a witch was by hanging. After death, the body was burnt and the ashes scattered. In Scotland, as a rule, the witch was strangled at the stake and the body burned. But there are several records of the culprit being sentenced to burning alive. In France, burning alive was the invariable punishment. Thus," still quoting, "the witches often went to the gibbet and the stake, glorifying their god and committing their souls into his keeping, with a firm belief that death was but the entrance to an eternal life in which they would never be parted from him. Fanatics and visionaries as many of them were, they resemble those Christian martyrs whom the witch persecutors often held in the highest honor." So as I said, I'm going to perform a ritual because this is what women who study witches do. I study witches. I study the history of witchcraft. I don't study witchcraft. I study the history of it.
Women who run with the witches.
I detach so I can get closer. We women who study this history of witchcraft, we women who study anything, have an investment. We women who study witchcraft, end up with witchy reputations, sometimes on purpose. We can't simply be interested in something. We have to identify with it. And maybe we do. We like the romance. We like the power. Even if we avoid black magic, we like the power of play, and sometimes of mockery. We are like Sylvia Townsend Warner, author of the witchy feminist fantasy novel Lolly Willows. This one you can pass around.
Nice.
Who answered Virginia Woolf's question as to how she had come to know so much about witches by responding, "Because I am one."
Take that, people.
We are like Margaret Murray, author of the witchy feminist fantasy scholarly monograph, The Witch Cult in Western Europe, who dryly references charms and potions of her own, or not potions so much as powers of her own. Here is the ritual.
Margaret Murray.
Got it? Got Murray? There'll be more. There'll be more. I will summon for you what Foucault calls the fantasia of the library.
Our
Foucault
first Foucault.
is an important ingredient. He is the symbol and substance of scholarship. His name helps us activate the page. The Witch Cult in Western Europe, a study in anthropology by Margaret Alice Murray, published by Oxford at the Clarendon Press, 1921. Preface, we're gonna skip. Contents, introduction. Between the believer who believed everything and the unbeliever who disbelieved everything, there has been no critical examination of the evidence, which presents a new and untouched field of research to the student of comparative literature. Brackets enclosing ellipsis. Ritual witchcraft, or as I propose to call it, the Dianic cult, embraces the religious beliefs and ritual of the people known in late medieval times as witches. The evidence proves that underlying the Christian religion was a cult practiced by many classes of the community, chiefly, however, by the more ignorant, or those in the less thickly inhabited parts of the country. It can be traced back to pre-Christian times and appears to be the ancient religion of Western Europe. The god, anthropomorphic or theriomorphic, was worshipped in well-defined rites. The organization was highly developed, and the ritual is analogous to many other ancient rituals. The dates of the chief festivals suggest that the religion belonged to a race which had not reached the agricultural stage, and the evidence shows that various modifications were introduced, probably by invading peoples who brought in their own beliefs. I have not attempted to disentangle the various cults. I am content merely to point out that it was a definite religion with beliefs, ritual, and organization as highly developed as that of any other cult in the world. Christianity. That's the subtext. If you don't have time to read the whole thing, that's the subtext. Some of you might recognize what I just read. Oh, first of all, that, by the way, is the first feminist theory of witchcraft. Kind of cool. Some of you might recognize this as the basis of Wicca, which was furthered by this gentleman. Get a good look. Preface by Margaret A. Murray. Thank you. Actually, we're going to keep that out when they come around good stuff. Some of you might recognize what I just read as an inspiration for the best-selling novel, The Mists of Avalon. Woo! Oh yeah, I brought it. Margaret Murray mentioned in the acknowledgments.
Have your annotations now?
No, too private. Mists of Avalon was for me an inspiration for many things for a long time. It was an important book too for the late Mary Daly. Hot. Magic begets magic. It's an important book for me. Scholar, woman scholar, indulger of the imagination. It was an important book, too, for a young woman in 1962 who visited the great scholar of religion at the University of Chicago, Mircea Eliade. I will next read from his journals, published in 1977 in English. And herewith, the ritual will end. But remember, magic begets magic. Don't need it. 6 November. I had a visit from a young girl who was in her last year of high school. Next fall, she is going to the university. She doesn't know which major to choose, literature or philosophy, because, she admitted to me, she wants to study ... sorcery, witchcraft. She is fascinated by medieval witchcraft. She has read everything she has come across, and she is, unfortunately, taken with the fantastic hypotheses of Margaret Murray. She wants to study witchcraft in the texts and to discover the secret of the witches. These women who let themselves be burned at the stake without recanting or denouncing had a great secret. The girl is neither beautiful nor ugly. She has an extremely soft, weak voice, as if she were afraid of losing it if she forced it a little. Thank you.
Woo!